Hello and welcome back. This is Great Big History Project podcast. In this episode, we do war and politics in ancient Greece. So strap in. We have three major wars to do: the Persian Wars, Peloponnesian Wars, and Alexander's Wars. So this is Dr. Christopher Gennari, and we're going to do Greek warfare. So the first war we're going to talk about is the war that makes Greece. Actually, it's the war that makes Athens. And you can decide which kind of fanboy you are, whether that makes Greece or not. The Spartans would say, hey, we were already here doing cool Spartan stuff. And, of course, you have Theban fanboys and Plataean fanboys. And then you get the fanboys who, for giggles, like Lesbos. And you're like, well, that's a little island, and it was kind of important. And they're like, ha, 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 I like the name. I'm like, oh, guys. So, the first war we're going to talk about is the Persian Wars, which are a series of wars. They're not one war. And they go on for 40 years, from 500 to 460 BC. But they go through in stages. And each stage is only about a year for each. So it starts with a revolt at the edge of the world. The Persians had conquered Lydia somewhere in like the 530s, 520s. Cyrus conquered Lydia. And when he conquered Lydia, he absorbed the Greeks of Asia Minor in what's called Ionia, Ionia. They're the Greeks on the coast of Asia Minor. And he got them for free, because the Lydians had conquered them earlier. This is Croesus, and like as rich as Croesus, and Midas with the Midas touch. The Lydians in the Greek concept were super rich because they're the people who invented coins. So they were super rich. Well, there's a battle. Cyrus wins. In fact, this is where Cyrus is just like, cool. Cyrus realized that horses are scared of camel pee. And he knew the Persians are really good on their horses, but the Lydians might actually be better. The rep at the time was the Lydians had the best cavalry in the world. So what he did was he lined up his troops, and he got barrels of camel pee. Now imagine that was your job, right? You got paid to be the camel pee collector. He got these barrels out, and when the battle started, the Lydians come charging in on their horses. They're going 25 miles an hour. They got their spears out. They're come charging in. Now, you have to also remember there's no stirrups, so you couldn't just charge in and like knights just kind of ram into people. You get thrown off your horse. So there's ways of doing this. You either charge in and stop and stab, or you let your spear go and kind of fly because it's moving at 25 miles an hour. It'll go right through someone's head. And so in come the Lydians, and they're charging and they're charging and they're charging. And you can imagine the Persians and the troops at the front are like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? When do we do it? When do we do it? When do we do it? And Cyrus is like, wait now. And they push over the barrels of camel pee. The whole line of camel pee forms in front of the troops. The Lydian horses smell it. They get freaked out. They run off. They decide, we can't fight. And they run off. And then the Persian army just comes marching, because men will walk through pee because they're men. If you've ever been in a men's bathroom, whoo, during halftime, whoo, there's pee everywhere. As a side note, places in Europe actually put stickers on urinals, like a little bee or a target or something, to get men to pee in the right place, because otherwise they just pee all over everything. It's kind of amazing. So anyway, the men walk over the pee, they win the battle, conquer Lydia. The king of Lydia becomes one of Cyrus's homeboys. Remember, Cyrus is nice, and Cyrus leaves him as governor of the West. And the Greeks come with that. Now, this is a problem for the Greeks, because the problem for the Greeks is Cyrus doesn't respect them. They're losers. They're losers of losers. He defeated the Lydians. The Lydians had defeated the Greeks on the coast. So to Cyrus, they're losers of losers. They're not even worth conquering. Like Cyrus doesn't conquer the Greeks. They don't even get the honor of Cyrus showing up. He's like, why would I go there? I'm going back home. So, in 500 BC, under Darius, the Greeks revolt. And mostly they revolt because they're tired of being disrespected. They don't get the great jobs Lydians do. They don't get respected. They're not a big people like the Babylonians or the Egyptians, right? They're not naval people like the Phoenicians, right? They don't call the Persians messiahs or Cyrus a messiah. They're not allied to the Persians the way the Hebrews are. So, like, they're not cousins like the Medes are. Like, this empire sucks, man. What am I getting out of it? And so the Ionians revolt. And they figured that they are at the end of the world. The Persians might not even notice. Darius might just let them go. And so what they do is get drunk because they're Greeks, so they get drunk. They also go to Greece proper to try to get allies. And nobody wants to be a part of this because it's crazy. You get a part of this, that means when the Persians do show up, which the Ionians are like, dude, they're never showing up. You're like, but if they do, dude, they're never. But if they do, but they'll never. But if they do, then they're going to want to beat me up too. Dude, but they're never showing up. We're at the end of the world. So the Spartans and Corinthians, they're all like, no, man, you're crazy. Revolting against the Persians, the biggest empire in the whole wide world, with an army of 250,000 people, you're crazy. The one place that is crazy enough to be cool with the Ionian Revolt is Athens. Why? Because Athens has a democracy. And so the Ionians show up and they're like, well, can we talk to your democracy? And they're like, well, of course you can. So they go into the theater. There's like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people. And they give the pitch. Oh, Athens, we have no freedom. We're slaves to the Persians. Oh, if only you, the greatest, bravest people in the whole wide world. And the Athenians are totally not the greatest or the bravest people in Greece, much less the whole wide world at this point. Oh, if you would only help us, oh, we could win. And they're like, oh, dude, these people are eating it up. They're like, wow, this is great. And they vote. And then since it's a democracy, the majority wins. And so they vote to help the Ionians, which is the craziest thing. And this is what Herodotus will say. Herodotus will say that what the Ionians realized, and that they did not know, was that groups of people are far more foolish than individuals. And that turns out to kind of be philosophically true. Plato will certainly think so. Lots of philosophers will think that. And you know this. If you have ever been on a haunted hayride, you know this. Because you did not wake up that morning and said, how will I spend $50 today? I know I'm going to drive out to the middle of Pennsylvania. I'm going to wait in a 2-hour line in the cold. I am going to then spend $50 to $60, which is at like a week's wage, so that I can sit on a hayride where dudes in a mask with a fake chainsaw will come out and go, ah, at me. And then I'll laugh. You never did that. So how did you end up on a haunted hayride? Because, like many bad ideas, this started at Friendly's. You're there, you're with your homies, you're having your burger, and you're like, just having a good time, and then someone says, dude, we should go on a haunted hayride. And now the next words are the most important words. Because if the next words are, dude, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard, that ends it, because the first person will be like, yeah, I was just making a joke. But I really want to go. No. The next words, to end up on the Haunted Hayride, you know what the next words were. Dude, that's awesome. We should totally do that. And then the third, the one that's going to clinch it, is the friend that we all have. You have this friend. I have this friend. We all have this friend. The friend who somehow never orders anything at Friendly's, but eats everybody else's fries. That friend, because I have no money. And that's what he'll say. I wish I could go. I have no money. And then the most important words that are going to be said after the most important words. Somebody at that table says, dude, I got you. I'll cover you. You pay me back. Thanks. And boom, now you're in. Now no one's thinking about saying no. Now it's how do we have an even better time than the time we're already going to have. And that's when someone whips out their phone and starts texting their girl. And you're like, hey, dude, what are you doing? Dude, I'm texting my girl. This is going to be awesome. We're going to be on a hayride. She's going to be scared. She's going to want to hug me. And they're like, dude, you know what? Your girl has cute friends. Make sure she invites her friends. And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And all of a sudden, what started out with one person having a maybe, hey, do you think it might be cool, kind of possibly, that we could go and do this, maybe, has now become a caravan of 3 cars, 20 people sitting on each other's laps, which is what you wanted to happen. You were like, we're going to have too few cars and too many people going out to central Pennsylvania so you can sit online, which is good because now you've got 2 hours to chat up the girl you have a crush on who's the friend of the girl who your best friend is dating. And so you've now like, haha, and you know the dudes were like, who gets to talk to Mary? Who gets to talk to Sally? No, I want to talk to Sally. And you're like, no, and they're all calling dibs because they're dudes who are 16, 17, 18 years old. And, and so then you spend your $50 and you're like, yeah, and then you get to be on the Haunted Hayride and you push people out of the way so you could sit next to the girl you have the crush on who's the best friend of your best friend's girlfriend. And then your guy comes out and goes, with his chainsaw, and you think this is the greatest night of your freaking life. And then when you leave, after you've done all the haunted house and you've done all the Haunted Hayride and you leave, you're like, that's awesome. And then you tell stories about just how scared you weren't, but you really were when you're driving home and everyone's laughing and you're like, let's stop at a Wawa and you get chocolate, you get some chips, and maybe you even get a sandwich that you split because dude has no money and he's like, hey, dude, can I share? And you're like, yeah, well, of course you could share. We're having a great time. And if someone's over 21, they buy the beers and everyone buys cigarettes and everybody's having a great time. But you would never, ever, ever have done that alone. Ever. It would never have even occurred to you. And that's Herodotus. 3,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, saying democracies are dumb. They're fun, but they're dumb. So Athens decides to help. They send only 20 ships. That's all they got. At this point, Athens is not Athens yet. Athens is third tier, man. And they show up and they go, hey, we're here to help in case Persia shows up, which you told us would never happen. And what did the Greeks of Ionia do? They bicker. Because they're Greeks. They fight and they drink. And that's what they do. And they bicker and they do crazy stuff. They're like, dude, Athens, you want to do something crazy? And some of you have these friends, right? You have these friends who are especially friends from your old high school or like summer camp, and they're like you're like, oh, we'll hang out together, but they're not your normal friends. And so they're your hillbilly friends. They're your forest friends. They're cool, but they're weird, right? And that's the Ionians. So the Athenians are sitting there and they're like, yeah, okay, we'll do something cool. And they're like, oh, you're going to love this. And they get their shit together and they go marching off into Lydia, right? Which at this point, nobody's paying any attention to. And they sack Sardis, Sardis. They sack the city that's where the Persian governor is. At this point, the Persian governor is like, dude, I don't care. I'm having a good time. I don't want anyone to know you're revolting. It don't matter. You're poor Greek. All of a sudden now, his house is in flames. He's being taken out. He's being beaten up. He's stripped naked, tied onto a horse, and sent back to Persia. The city is burned down, and the Greeks and the Ionians like, "Oh, this is awesome, dude!" And the Athenians like, "What WTF? You people are so messed up. Oh my God!" It's like, "Oh, we're having such a fun time. Oh, beers for everyone!" It's like, "Oh my God!" And so the Athenians are like, "Dude, you did not see us, and we're taking off." So they go back home. The Athenians leave the Ionians, and they go back home. Now, if you're Darius, you had a revolt at the end of the world that wasn't doing much. Did you need to do anything? No. But now they have sacked a capital city of yours. They have humiliated a governor of yours. They stole the money out of your capital. Now, can you let them loose? Can you let them free? No way. You got to punish these people. And so Darius gets his army together, and using the Persian roads we might have talked about, marches super fast. Like the Ionians thought they had like 5 years. They thought they were fine. They're like, look, Persia is 18 months away. Even if you like it's 18 months away, right? But they have to get word, and they have to come back, and they have to make sure. And dude, by the time everyone gets their act together, it's going to be 5 years later. They're going to forget us. No, 6 months. He pulled his army together. Bang, he shows up. He's like, "I'm Darius. Who started this? And I'm going to end it. But first you're going to tell me who started it." And you know what all the Ionians did. They all pointed across the sea and said, "Athens did it. Athens made us do it." And Darius is like, fine. He wins the Battle of Lade. He smashes Ionian armies. He captures all the cities. Done. And now he's got a problem. And that problem is Athens. Athens got involved. Even though they're across the sea, they got involved in his stuff. Can he let anyone do that? No. He can't allow other people to get involved in his empire. And so what does he do? He attacks Athens. Now, he's not going to go because he's Darius. He's Darius, man. He doesn't go to Greece because Greece is poor. It sucks. So he gets himself a general. He gets and says to the general, "Dude, what do you need? Like 30,000 men? You don't even need that much of an army." And the guy's like, "Dude, I'll take whatever you got because we're awesome." So he gives him like 30,000 men, gives him the ships and says, "Go attack Athens. I'm going to go back to Persia because I'm Darius. I'm awesome. You take care of this." And the Persian general's like, "Dude, no problem. I got this. I got this, Holmes. We cool." Because Athens is a third-tier city in Greece, which is a third-tier place. Right? And so what happens? The Battle of Marathon happens. The Persians attack Athens. The only place they can land 30,000 troops happens to be a beach called Marathon. Okay. So they drop their troops, 30,000 troops at the beach. Who's waiting for them? The Athenian army, 10,000 men in a phalanx at the top of the hill where the beach ends, right? So the Persians are on the beach, but there's mountains to the right of them. There's mountains to the left of them. There's the sea behind them. Those 30,000 troops can't spread out. They're hemmed in by the mountains. And the Athenians are like, "Dude, you want to fight a phalanx battle? We'll fight a phalanx battle." And the Persians are like, "No, man, we got to spread out like in the Middle East. We need room. We got to breathe. We got to spread our wings, and then we will crush you." And the Athenians are like, "Yeah, that's the problem, man. We want to fight real tight." And days pass, and the Athenians send word to the Spartans, and they're like, "Dude, Sparta, there's a battle. The Persians are here. You have to help us." And the Spartans are having the middle of a sex fertility party. Because the Persians are like perfect on this stuff. They like had the Spartan calendar down. And they're like, fertility ceremony, that's when we're going to attack. Because the Spartans are in the middle of like a 3-day dancing, which they did very well. Choruses, singing, like the kids, beautiful singing voices. Spartan choruses were the best. It's kind of crazy for the Spartans being so famous at war, but that's not weird. Think about Icelandic poets. Think about Vikings. War and poetry go together. So you got kids singing. You got a lot of drinking. You got the sexy part. because there's a problem. The Spartans were so dedicated to war, they didn't spend a lot of time doing the sexy stuff. And so their population is a problem. It's never growing very large. It stays at like 10,000 adult men in the army for like hundreds of years. So this is one of those ways of like, hey, the fertility gods need a day. Let's have a giant party, right? And so the Athenians are like, dude, war. And now normally the Spartans are like, dude, that's awesome. Let's go. But now they're like, dude, have you noticed what we're doing? We don't have time for this. We'll come when it's over. And the Athenians are like, dude, but we got war. And the Spartans are like, I'm busy. Athenians are like, okay, fine. Go back. So the Athenians run all the way back to northern Greece, all the way back to Marathon, show up and they're like, the Spartans ain't coming. The only people who come are a city called Plataea, P-L-A-T-I-A or P-L-A-E-T-I-A, Plataea. And they sent everybody 800 men. That's all Plataea had. They had 800 adult men. This tells you how typically a small city was. Now, so it's the Marathonakoi. It's the Athenians and the Plataeans, right? They're homeboys Plataeans. And they're like, well, I guess we got to fight. And the Persians are like, you know what? They count and they go, there's 10,000 of these guys, right? There's 30,000 of us. If there's 10,000 here, that's probably all their men. What if we just sail to Athens? Nobody's there. We could sail faster than they can walk. Why are we here? And like, oh, that's brilliant. So they start to pack up their ships. They're like, oh, we're just going to go to Athens. And the Athenians are like, oh my God, they can sail faster to Athens than we could run. We better attack them. And so that's what happens. They come charging down the beach, right? The Persians shoot out their arrows to avoid the arrows. So they start marching down the beach. The Persians see them coming. They shoot out their arrows to avoid the arrows. The Athenians now run. And this becomes the Athenian Charge. They run in full plate armor. This will become one of the biggest events. This is the 100-yard dash of the Greek Olympics. This run, about a mile long, in full plate armor. The plate, the shield, the spear, it's the Athenian run, and it's this dash. Because if you get hit with the arrows, man, you're dead. So they have to run. They're running down this, and they collide, boom, with the Persian army. The Persian army is, half of it is getting onto the ships. The other half is in disorder. They can't spread out with their horses. The horses are useless on this plain. And it's this battle. Boom, boom, boom. Aeschylus, the playwright, is there with his brother. They attack. They climb in onto Persian ships. It's going so well. The brother's hand is chopped off by an axe. Ah! He'll die from blood loss. He'll be memorialized by his brother in the Persians. They capture the ships. They defeat the Persians. Boom, it's a win. Woo! Athens has to know. Some ships do escape, right? They escape, and they're heading to Athens, right? They got enough men, maybe 10,000, maybe more, and they're heading, right? And so a dude is sent, and I don't know his name. I should know his name. And he's a runner. And he runs over the mountains, over the hills, in 100-degree weather. Because this is done in end of August. I think it's not the end of August. It's August, and it's 100-degree weather. And no real water. He's running. He's got to get there as fast as he can. He gets to Athens ahead of the ships. And he goes, Nike, victory, and dies of heat exhaustion. The crowd goes, woo! They pick up his body. They probably could have resuscitated him. If they knew CPR, they could have brought him right back. They take him to the Acropolis. They bury him right then with full state honors. And we get Nike. We get the marathon. We get the Olympic sporting event of the dash. Look at what we got from this. Marathon. Athens wins. Athens defeats Persia. The Athenian army will rush back, not at a full run, because that guy died, but it will rush back. It will get to Athens, just as the Persians are showing up, and the Persians will count and be like, oh, they're ready for us. And so they sail away and go back home. It is a glorious Athenian victory. What did they do in response? They build a navy. Wait, what? They build a navy. Why do they build a navy? Because everybody expects Persia to come back. Why? Because nobody had ever defeated the Persians before. Nobody. Nobody had defeated the Persians before. And so the Persians aren't going to take this line down. The Persians are immediately going to go best 2 out of 3. And they're coming back. They are the biggest empire in the whole wide world. They are not going to be embarrassed like this. The underdog won once. The Persians are not going to let this happen a second time. They've been insulted now. Now they're a little humiliated. And so they came by sea the first time. Athens will prepare for them by sea. Better to fight them in the ocean than to fight them on the land like they did the last time. So they build a navy. They end up with a democracy. So you get Athens is attacked. You get the Battle of Marathon. The Athenians win. They build a navy. Persia's humiliated. Athens ends up with a democracy because they built 300 ships, 200 men on a ship, 60,000 men all want to have a say. You get democracy. Then you get your second stage, 10 years later. Because what happens is the people who don't like Persia, like the Egyptians, revolt. They're like, dude, the third stringers won. I'm Egypt, the richest country in the world. We could totally win. So they revolt. And so for the next 10 years, Darius is putting down revolts and putting down revolts and putting down revolts. He dies of natural causes. So his son takes over, Xerxes. And he's got to put down revolts because now, not only does he have the problem of like the Persians lost, we have to put down revolts, but also he's the young son. So they're like, again, the Egyptians are like, well, this guy's a baby. Maybe we could beat him. You know, his dad was tough. But he's a baby. Maybe we could beat him. So Xerxes is again forced to deal with this problem. And he knows ultimately what he has to do. He has to conquer Greece. Why? Because one, he has to send a message. You don't get to defeat the Persians. 2, it's part of the Persian philosophy. He blames his dad for the defeat. Why? Because his dad was dumb. Why? Because Persians don't do little things. His father wanted to punish one Greek city. That's not what the Persians do. The Persians don't conquer one Greek city, one dinky little city, even if it's Athens. They conquer Greece. They conquer Egypt. They don't conquer one Phoenician city. They conquer them all. So it's the kind of like his dad was dumb by not doing what Persians do. I won't do that. I'm going to invade Greece. I'm going to be there. Like Cyrus, like Cambyses who conquered Egypt. I'm going to be there. Dad wasn't there. I'm going to be there. And so what you get is the Xerxes invasion in 490 BC. It is huge. It is a full army. 250,000 men. It's also 1,000 ships. So another 250,000 people for supplies. So you got the land invasion. You've got sea providing the supplies to all of these troops because Greece can't feed 250,000 men on the move. That's like 1/4 of all the Greeks in existence all over the world. Herodotus will call it 4 million. I think it's 4 million or 6 million because that was a number that was so large Greeks couldn't even conceive of that number. It was as big as numbers got. It's like me saying 100 gazillion. Like, what's a gazillion? It's like beyond, you can't even fathom how much it is. And what happens is most of Greece surrenders. Most of Greece just surrenders. They see this army on the move. It's an army Herodotus says will drink rivers dry. That it causes earthquakes as it walks by. So when it shows up, you want it to move. And dude, most people don't have a problem with the Persians. They like the Persians. The Persians are the biggest empire in the whole wide world. They trade with the Persians. And if they come up and they say, surrender or die, you say, I surrender. And they're like, okay, that's cool. We'll be on our way. Like, yeah, great. Kick Athens' butt. They suck. Yeah, I'm going to do that. There are a couple of cities that aren't allowed to surrender. Athens is one of them. Plataea is the second one. The Spartans won't surrender because the Spartans have a problem. The Spartans have a little empire, and we'll talk about this later. But they became Sparta by beating up Argos. Argos, where Jason and the Argonauts come from, used to be the number one city in Greece. The Spartans beat them up, took their number one position. See, now that's a problem, because if you're Argos, you hate that. And the Argonauts, the Argosians, hate the Spartans, they consider them upstarts. They hate them. And so the Argos is like, Xerxes, come on to the south. We're here for you. We're here. So they were real fast to be like, not only surrender, but to ally with Xerxes. If Xerxes got troops in the Peloponnese, the southern part of Greece, Argos was on it, and the Spartans were going to be in trouble anyway. So the Spartans were like, well, if we're going to be in trouble, we might as well go down fighting. Right? If we're going to lose, we might as well fight. Rather than let Argos just come here with... we're going to fight the Persians. And so you get Thermopylae. In a mountain pass in northern Greece, that's a mountain pass that separates northern Greece from central Greece. They plug it up, Sparta and 4,000, 5,000 allies. And they're crushed. They were supposed to hold that mountain pass for 3 months. They hold it for 3 days. I know we get a cool movie, and it's like, oh, they held them off for 3. It was supposed to be 3 months. It was supposed to be, you hold off until the winter. The Persians won't have enough food because it'll be winter. They'll have to go home. You win by not losing. The Spartans lost. It's a humiliating, traumatic defeat. All 300, the entire phalanx of Spartans are killed. The king is killed. It is a glorious Xerxes Persian victory. He floods central Greece with 250,000 troops. Every city surrenders. They burn Athens. This is a trauma. The Athenians get on their ships and go out to an island called Salamis, where they watch their city burning. And they're like, F this, guys. We're going to go to Sicily. We're done. Greece sucks. Enjoy your new conquest, boys. Except there's this dude, Themistocles. And Themistocles is like, we're going to have one last battle. And the Spartans are like, dude, it's going to be on land. We're going to fight it, and we're going to plug up the Peloponnese. We're going to all die. And Themistocles, yeah, that's freaking crazy, dudes. No, we're going to have a naval battle. Because you see all those ships? Those ships are bringing the food the Persian army needs to eat every day. Thousands of tons of food. If we destroy those ships, they'll be out of food. If they're out of food, they'll have to go home. We win by not losing. We have to destroy their ships. We don't fight their army. And the Spartans are like, dude, we don't have any ships. We fight on land. And the Athenians are like, I know. And the Spartans are like, we won't do it. We want to be in charge of shit. And the Athenians are like, we'll put you in charge of the ships. And the Spartans are like, damn straight you will. And the Athenians are like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you don't know what you're doing, so it's okay. And so you get the Battle of Salamis. This midnight battle, like 2 minutes to midnight. And it is a glorious Athenian naval victory. They suck the Persians into a trap in the sea and destroy the ships. They destroy the supplies. It's a glorious victory. Aeschylus is rowing in the fleet. Again, he's going to write a play called The Persians, who's going to recount this. Greece is saved. Xerxes has to retreat. Now, he'll leave a little army there, and that army will be destroyed at the Battle of Plataea, actually, where all of the Greeks, and this time the Spartans are at the head of that army. They are the allies in charge. They are supreme allied commander, Battle of Plataea. But everybody knows it was the Athenian victory at Salamis. Xerxes retreats. Greece is saved. The Egyptians revolt. Other people revolt. And Xerxes is going to spend the rest of his reign dealing with putting down these revolts against him. What are the results of this? 1, Sparta withdraws from the global stage. They're traumatized. They fought, they lost. That's a humiliation. They don't want to go out and fight. They don't want to go to Ionia and fight. They don't want to be on the stage fighting the Persians. They want to have their little empire in the Peloponnesus with their slaves, the Helots, Helots, and they want to do their own little thing and be like awesome. They want to be big fish in a little sea. They're completely traumatized by the Persian Wars. So they withdraw. Well, if the Spartans are withdrawing, someone's got to take that place as the number one people, and that's Athens. They jump right in. Democracy plus the navy equaled victory and equals legitimacy. Look at what we have. We have democracy. We have a giant navy, and we won. And then it's compounded. That navy equals trade. Trade equals money. Money equals culture, which we'll talk about in a couple episodes. Culture equals education. And you get the golden age of quote-unquote Greece. But it's not the golden age of Greece. It's the golden age of Athens. Like, this is the war that made Greece, Greece, but it really makes Athens, Athens. Everything you want to see, you want to go to ancient Athens and see, is because of what happens after the Persian Wars. Herodotus invents history because he has to explain, why did the Greeks win? How did this happen? They shouldn't win. This is crazy. And his answer is, the Greeks are free. The Persians are not. Okay. Now he has to prove that theory, and that's history. History is not just, this happens, this happens, this happens. That's a chronicle. History is, you have an answer. The Greeks are free, Persians are not. Now you have to prove it. You have to prove the Greeks are free. Then you have to prove the Persians are not. Then you have to prove freedom has a military value. And you have to prove that slaves or slavery does not. That slavery takes away from your military power. And it takes Herodotus 600 pages to do it, but he does it. And he invents history. Now, this will leave us with Athenian confidence, wealth, and power. They're going to take their navy. They're going to go to all the islands in the Aegean. They're going to free them from the Persians. They're going to ally with them. They're going to go to Ionia and free those cities. And they're going to create the Delian League, Delian League, D-E-L-I-A-N, the Delian League, which is an alliance. It's like NATO. It's an alliance versus Persia, because a lot of these cities don't have navies. They don't have armies. They're too small. And so they go to the Athenians and say, Athens, protect us from Persia, because Persia is totally coming back. It's only a matter of time. You know, it's like defeating LeBron on one-on-one. He is not going to be like, oh, well, you know, sometimes you lose. No, he's like best 2 out of 3. Oh, yeah, best 3 out of 5. Because he figures he'll win sooner or later. And all he has to do is win once. All LeBron has to do is dunk on your head one time for 11 points, and he's done. Right? So all the Persians, the Greeks will have to defeat the Persians every time to be free. The Persians just have to win once to control the Greeks. And so all these little states, the Ionians, the islands, they all go and say, protect us. And the Athenians say, of course. But you have to pay us, because the navy costs money. It has to be built. It has to be maintained. Those rowers need to be paid. Now, you could build your own navy if you want. And everyone says, yeah, no. We'll just pay you. And if the Persians come back, you protect us. And so the Delian League is an insurance for small cities. They pay the Athenians money. And the Athenians promise to protect them. Perfectly good. It's a perfectly reasonable thing. It is insurance. Everybody is doing this honorably. The question arises, what if the Persians don't come back? All of this money is being poured into Athens every year to protect, to maintain the navy, to protect stuff. but it can be used for other things. Money is fungible. Funigible. So what Athens does is say, they put it on their thing. All right, we're going to take out 1,000,000 gold pieces, and we're going to spend it on stuff. We owe 1,000,000 gold pieces. So when Persia comes back, don't worry, we're totally going to pay that money back. We're going to be there. We're going to protect you. And everyone says, yeah, okay, that's fine. Why should you just leave the money there on the ground in a bank vault? That's silly. You got to use it. So the money is going towards trade. It's going towards education. It's going towards building Athens, making Athens Athens, right? But everyone's cool with that because the stronger Athens get, the more likely they are to protect you. It's like America in 1955. Everyone's pretty cool with the Marshall Plan making America a little richer by building up Europe. Why? Because the richer America is, the more likely they are to protect Western Europe from the Soviet Union. So, this is what we got. But what if the Persians never come back? You're going to ask. Cities are going to start to say, hey, I don't need insurance. It's like your car insurance. What if I could promise you were never, ever, 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 ever going to be in a car accident? God told me himself, herself, itself. Gennari, you're my guy. Go into class, tell Joey, and tell Jane they don't need car insurance. They will never get into a car accident. I love this news. You do that. Because it's going to freak them out if I do it myself. And I said, great, God, no problem. You'd say, I don't need insurance anymore. And you go to your car insurance company and say, I don't want car insurance. And how would they feel? They'd be mad. That's why it's written into the law. You have to have car insurance. If you own a car, if you look at a car, you have to have car insurance. If you look at a car in a magazine, you better have car insurance according to car insurance companies. And so these cities start to go to Athens. Hey, Athens, thank you for the last 20 years. You protected us. It's great. Use the money however you want. But I think we're done. I think we want to end this relationship. We want to be best friends. But we don't want to pay you anymore. I mean, we're not getting anything for our money. How does Athens feel about that? And the answer is, Athens says, F you. No, my little buddy. Oh, my Nebos. Oh, my Milos. Oh, my Skyros. No. You don't understand. For the last 20 years, you've been paying insurance. You've been paying protection. You thought you were paying for protection from Persia. Turns out, you're paying for protection from us. If you don't pay us, we're going to take our badass navy and our kick-butt army, which is, remember, won at Marathon. We're the only people who ever defeated the Persians twice. And we're going to come to your city, and we're going to make you pay. And who's going to help you? Who else has a navy that could come to your rescue? Only the Persians. And they're worse than us. And in 460 or so, the Athenians take the Delian League and they turn it from an insurance and create it into the mafia, into the Athenian Empire. You have to now pay Athens for protection from Athens. And you have to pay it every year, whether you want to or not. Or they will make you. And the cities that try to get away with it, a navy shows up, levels their walls, burns the city, creates a democracy, puts the democracy in charge, which are all going to be made out of Athenian homeboys, puts them in charge to make a real ally. They start cutting the heads off of rich people. And so the Delian League becomes the Athenian Empire, and the Athenian Empire is the mafia. Well, how do people feel about the mafia? If you're in the mafia, you like it. But if you're one of the people paying protection to the mafia, you have a complicated relationship. And so what this means is the loss of autonomia for small cities. And large cities become worried. Are we next? And small cities are completely helpless. They're completely unhappy. They're like, we can't do anything. And the large cities like Sparta are like, oh boy, this is going to be a problem. Corinth, Thebes are like, are we next? And small cities like, oh my God, if the Athenians look at us, we're in trouble. And so what will happen? The Peloponnesian War. The war that will rip Greece apart. That's what we're going to do next, because we're 45 minutes in, and I told some awesome stories, and it's great that we did it, but we can't have a 2-hour episode. So we're doing a 45-minute episode. That was the Persian Wars. Next episode, Peloponnesian Wars. Take care. Good luck. See you soon.